What is going on, everyone? It's Ultimate Spy 53 here, and welcome to another episode of Reviewed number 86. And today I'm going to be reviewing the movie Spirited Away. So what are my thoughts on this movie? Well, I honestly thought it was a true work of art. This is, after all, a Studio Ghibli movie. Ghibli? I think that's how you say it. Might be Ghibli. Whatever. I think what I most liked about Spirited Away was the fact that it told an amazing story, all the while providing some of the most beautiful music you could ever hear in an animated movie. I mean, Studio Ghibli, okay, I'm just gonna say the way I always say it, which is Ghibli. But Studio Ghibli makes some of the best animated movies in animated movie history. I mean, sure, Disney, Pixar, DreamWorks, Blue Sky, and Illumination Entertainment can make some pretty amazing movies, but honestly, Studio Ghibli brings a very special and very beautiful mind in the work they do on their movies. And it's the way they animate these movies, and the way they use storytelling to create an amazing masterpiece that really sells these movies to be truly wonderful creations, and that's how they differ so much in design to anime shows. But for Spirited Away, it was the journey the character of Chihiro goes through that is both terrifying, yet visually stunning. So, the basic idea of the movie, without just plain going through the whole plot, which is stupid, is that Chihiro, this scared 10-year-old little girl, discovers the secret spirit world while on the way to her new home, which is where the story begins. And the terrifying thing about the spirit world is that we're seeing how terrified Chihiro is of the world she has been dumped into. Because, first off, the one scene that makes anyone who watches this movie get really weirded out is when Chihiro's parents eat the food that's meant for the spirits and they end up turning it into pigs by the magic of the witch who owns that bathhouse and this secret spirit world. That particular scene has its own way of being disturbing, because the world Chihiro is in is already full of some of the weirdest spirits imaginable. I mean, the whole story of the movie is weird, but it's the design of the spirits that really can creep you out, and that's what made that particular scene just outright disturbing, because they keep eating the food, and they won't stop, and that's the part where it's like, oh my god, they are gonna... something bad's gonna happen to them. That she realized you can tell that she's like, oh my god, something bad's gonna happen to them. I don't want to find out, and so she runs away because she doesn't want to find out. But aside from that, it's still a truly incredible story. A lot of the characters Chihiro encounters are incredibly interesting. First off, we have Haku, who appears as a young boy, but also has the ability to transform into a dragon, which is honestly a really awesome idea. Not much is known about him until much later on in the movie, but he does help Chihiro out throughout the story of the movie. And a bit early on, we learn that he works for Yubaba, who is the bathhouse witch. Now, she is the weirdest character out of the entire cast we have in the movie. And that is not even counting the spirits. She's enormous on her own, has some pretty crazy magic, is a mother to this giant talking baby. Not kidding at all. Giant talking baby. And can transform herself into a bird-like version of herself, which is weird. Ugh, it's just like, what the fuck. But she also has this bird thing whose head is a miniature version of her head. Pretty weird, right? It gets messed up. And one more thing I should mention about her is that she owns these 3 green bald head thingies that have a mind of their own and act as one. They are so freaking weird. I mean, I can't even explain what they are. It's just like, it's crazy. But there's also her twin sister, who we learn about a majority of the way through the movie. I think we first encounter her after Haku in dragon form has been injured greatly, and like the papers basically won't, these paper things follow him, and they end up turning into her. She looks exactly like Yubaba, but she's not. She's the twin sister, but still, she's essentially the nicer version of your Baba. But the next weird character she meets is the Boiler Man Kamaji, who is one of the oddest designed friendly characters in the entire movie. I describe that as because he is friendly. He starts out kind of a little bossy, he doesn't care, but he eventually she warms up to him. Eventually Chihiro warms up to him, which is really nice. But he's essentially this guy with I kid you not, 6 arms. And the crazy thing about them is they all have this Mr. Fantastic stretchability. I mean, they can stretch to crazy lengths. It's insane. But the interesting thing is that we never see his face because he's always wearing these thick goggles. But but essentially a bald, 6-armed old man. There's not much to him but the fact that he helps Chihiro out in the movie and is the Boiler Man, essentially. The actor who voiced him, actually, interestingly enough, also voiced Cogsworth in the original animated Beauty and the Beast, which all of you know is my favorite Disney movie. But it's still very cool. I think one of my favorite characters, aside from Haku, has got to be Lin, or in the Japanese language, Rin, which is interesting because when I was watching the movie with English subtitles on, Rin popped up even when Lin was her English name, which I found really interesting. But she's essentially this young woman who is the caretaker of Chihiro, and of course appears human even though all the workers of the bathhouse are spirits. But the really, really cool thing that I found out about Lin while watching was that her voice actress is the same person who voiced Megara in the Disney version of Hercules. I mean, at first I was trying to figure out where I heard that voice from, which happens a lot when I hear a familiar voice in the animated. Happened in both Sword Art Online, Fairy Tail, and even The Seven Deadly Sins. And in this movie, I let the voice kind of flow through my mind while listening to her voice. And it finally dawned on me that she also voiced Megara in Hercules. I honestly love coincidences like these ones, especially when you don't expect them. But the interesting thing about Lin is not only does she sort of mother Chihiro, sort of like that, but she's also the only character, aside from Haku, that looks like a normal human. As Yabo is too dumb to be human, well, she's a witch, but she looks human, but she's too weird, she's too crazy weird and big to resemble a human. Because that's, even though she just lets her a gigantic old woman who happens to be a witch, which is great, which is really weird. But still, I really enjoyed Lin as a character because she's the only character that, aside from Haku, Chihiro really trusts, just based on her appearance. And that's all I can say about the weird characters. Now, the rest of the spirits are basically the human and frog-like workers of the bathhouse. Heck, one of them even is a talking frog, which is super weird. I mean, I think all the spirits and designs are weird, but the gross ones are the ones that creep me out the most, and those are No Face, which is the spirit who appears as a ghost wearing a mask, essentially, and the gigantic sludge monster thing that has somehow managed to eat a whole bunch of shit, including a bike and a whole playground, which is crazy, among other things. It's overall the design before and after it gets to the bath. It's just horrifying. But once it gets cleansed of the garbage it was covered in, it's still hideous. The really interesting thing about No Face is its character development. It starts out as this creepy mask-wearing spirit that takes a big interest in Chihiro, who actually has the ability to produce gold, but eventually changes into this terrifying monster with hair and a big ass mouth that we don't even see until about a quarter through the movie when the real action begins. But it starts to eat people, and it only stops once the bathhouse workers actually start making food to eat in exchange for gold. But of course, near the end of the movie, it vomits everywhere and transforms back into what it looked when it first appeared. But its overall design is really creepy. Oh my god. I feel like Scott Cawthon may have designed the puppet animatronic from Five Nights at Freddy's based a little bit off of No Face. Well, he's got inspiration from the puppet from No Face. I mean, look at the resemblance. I honestly think that No Face is the most terrifyingly creepy spirit in the entire movie, aside from the sludge spirit. The stuff that Chihiro goes through in the movie is so scary for her that she has no choice but to be brave and do her best. It's not only the saddest thing about the movie, but also the most beautiful story of the movie. Not only does the film give us a ton of gorgeous scenery, oh my god, it's amazing, but we see how much Chihiro is struggling to be in the world she is in. In fact, there's a point where Haku shows her parents as pigs, and that's gotta be terrifying. And by the end, he gives her some rolls to eat, and the saddest thing about that is that Chihiro actually cries about her parents being pigs, and all at the same time as eating the rolls. Like she's like eating, or I think they're like these rice ball thingies. I think they're just basically rice balls. Because she like eats them while she cries. And it's just like, it's so sad, and because she's all alone with no one else but Haku, essentially. I actually kind of teared up a little bit at that scene because it was like her crying, and honestly, I get triggered whenever I see someone crying in a movie or a television show or anything, mainly movies. But whenever that happens, I can't help but like feel myself tear up, and that's just how it is because it's so sad. I mean, it's also the fact that she's so young, being just 10 years old. I mean, I can understand how hard that must be for her, and it's incredibly sad, but it's also beautiful. And that's what I love about the studio, is they make emotionally beautiful animated movies with stunning visuals. Oh my goodness. And that's why I love it. It's just like they bring something special to their movies, and it's not just the way they animate the movies, it's also, you know, the storytelling is so rich and beautiful, and it's the animation style, and it's, you know, what they do with the scenery, and that's why I love these movies so much. It's amazing. And that's all I really can say about Spirited Away. A truly beautiful story with weird-ass characters, of course, but still one of the best animated movies of the 21st century. That's actually what the New York Times said about it, and I agree. Although Studio Ghibli always makes beautiful animated movies, this one is incredible in its own way. Some weird things in it. Just the character design overall is just so weird. Because from the spirits to Yubaba to the little scene from when the baby turns into this little mouse thing. There are some comedic moments in the movie. I will not like kid you that, but there are comedic moments. But it's so cute, but it's also like it gets weird where Yubaba turns the baby, her own son, into a little mouse thingy, and of course her little pet crow bird thingy with her miniature head into also a crow. But like those things that can just be overall just like, what the fuck, weird kind of things, and it's the overall design of everything that is in the movie that is just weird. It's like not a lot of the design in the movie is you know, makes sense. I mean, most of it is, you know, traditional, but it's just the way that Miyazaki designed the movie and animated the movie that it's so weird. It's hard to comprehend how weird the movie is, but still, I loved it. And as for how I rate on a scale of 1 to 10, which is my usual rating, I can hands down give it a perfect score of 10 out of 10, 100%, considering it did get a whopping 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm not kidding. And that rating does make sense. It really does. And that does it for this review on Spirited Away, one of Miyazaki's finest movies, and expect to see me review a lot more of them. I will definitely do that. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Reviewed. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button. I really do appreciate the support. And if you're new around here, subscribe to become inspired for more episodes of Reviewed and other series I do. And I'll be back next time for another episode. Alright? See ya.